All right, and this is the last one I want to show you, which is Squid. This is how you would implement using that data. Squid is a popular open source proxy, and this is how you use threat intelligence. You make a proxy server, you tell your employees to go through the proxy server, and the proxy server prevents them from going to these bad URLs. So all you have to do is sudo apt install squid, and then squid will be running, proxying data, but you want to change the configuration. So you edit the configuration file, which is squid.conf, and I'm going to show you what I did to that file here. I've of course already installed it on this machine. By the way, if you want to get out of these virtual environments, it is deactivate, which you don't really have to do, but I like to do it. I'm done using that cabby thing. So here's my squid configuration file. This thing is really long. I have to move like hundreds of lines down in it. So the way I did it is I look for this characteristic string, HTTP access. This is where you get to the access control lists, which control what you're allowed to see. So you search for that with Control W, HTTP access allow localhost, and then you search for it again with Control W to find the second place that occurs. And now, if you roll back a little, you'll see this message, insert your own rules here. This is where you control who's allowed to use this squid. And I've already inserted the add-ons you have to put in here. So before, all it had this was allow localhost, which would mean the only client that can use this squid server is the Debian machine itself. So I wanted to allow some more, so I allowed down here, I made a file, squid allowed IPs, and I allow anything that's put in that file. Those are the IP addresses of the client machines that can use this proxy server to reach the internet. And then I wanted to block some websites. So here's the access configuration to block bad URLs by domain name. So you have a file here full of bad sites, which is domain names, and it can't go there. And here's how you block bad IP addresses. The only difference is this is called the dest domain, and this is just called a dest. So you can prevent traffic to certain IP addresses or prevent traffic to domain names. And this you'll see as we go ahead, the project starts with just domain names, and then some of the extra credit parts you go back to IP addresses. So you add these things to the configuration file. That's the only change you make. And then you have to create these files in squid, IP addresses to block, sites to block, and allowed IPs to block. Allowed IPs to allow. So for the allowed IPs, let's do ls at squid. All right, the allowed IPs are easy. Squid allowed IPs. I could find the IP address range of my network and put it in here, but I decided to go the easy thing. I just made it everybody. 0000.0 means everybody can use the proxy, which is fine if I'm running like a virtual machine on a closed network. If you're running on a public machine, then you probably don't want to do this. Kirk actually did this one time a few years ago. He set up a proxy server in the lab and connected it to the internet, and within 5 minutes, dozens of people from China found it and started surfing porn through it, because there's a huge appetite for forbidden content in China, and they have automated processes searching for any open proxies. So if you put one up, they will find it and start using it right away. So that's why you have this. You really don't want to let your own people use your proxy. You don't want random idiots using your proxy. But it's okay for what we're doing right now. And then for my bad sites, I'm going to clear the old one. So let's do sudo remove @squid. I got an old one left over from doing one of the extra credit projects there. I want to get rid of it. Squid bad sites. All right. And then I want to do sudo nano to put something in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in example.net. It's just a .example.net. So I'll get everything that starts with example.net, that ends with example.net, like maybe www.example.net, and so on. Example.net is just a web page for testing browsers that somebody put up on the internet, and I'm going to block it. So Now I've created a bad sites file that will not let people reach example.net, and in order to make it take effect, I have to restart Squid. So that is here, system control restart Squid. And that'll take about a minute to restart. Now, I need to configure a browser to go through that proxy. And I'm using Firefox for that purpose. You can put it on any machine as long as it can reach the proxy. I'm going to turn off my proxy address in here for the moment to show you what happens. So I go to Settings, and then I search for proxy, and there it is. All right, and this is my Squid. It listens on port 3128 on that IP address, but for now I'm going to turn off the proxy. And if there's no proxy running, then you can load like my website is fine. And if you go to example.net, there it is. Somebody put up this page. It's just an example page so you can do what we're doing right now. You know, just test a browser to see if it can reach a website. So that's fine. But if I go through the proxy, which is here, that's the IP address of my proxy, and the proxy listens on always this port, 3128. That's the default port for the Squid proxy. Then, if I try to go back to that example.net, now it's blocked. Your access is denied, and this is what you want. You protect your users from bad sites by blocking them at the proxy, and that's good. So now nobody can get there, and if you constantly update your proxy with a threat feed like this, with the latest phishing sites, then if people open their email and they click on phishing links, they will find that they can't get there and they don't get phished. That's the idea. So that's how you use these threat intel feeds with a proxy. And so that's the simplest one. Go to example.net, and then you can download some indicators of attack. Now these are Fish Tank. And what you got here was data from 2018. So you want to take your existing URLs and you have to get rid of all the extra junk, like HTTP and the folder and stuff, and get just down to the domain names like this. And put that in for your bad sites and block all of them. That's how you would use a real threat intel feed, put it in your proxy, and block websites. And there's a way to get a flag here. And these are called indicators of attack. Those are phishing URLs, and if somebody tries to go to them, that means that somebody is performing a phishing attack on you right now. Somebody in your company is getting sent phishing emails with those names in it, so you are being attacked right now. That's what traffic going to here means. They call that an indicator of attack. Now, we can also get indicators of compromise. And so if you go to a different server, the anomaly server, you can get command and control sites, IP addresses. It was one of the extra credit in one of the previous project. So you get this list of IP addresses, and those are not phishing IP addresses. Those are command and control addresses being used to control machines that are compromised by malware. So take those IPs and put them in the bad IPs file. And now traffic going to those IPs means you have already been compromised and your machines are trying to phone home. So those are indicators of compromise. And so put them in here with this access control list to use the bad IPs, and then go to a couple of websites. I should have a carriage return there. I'll add it. Go to a couple of URLs, and then you'll find a flag here. So anyway, that demonstrates to you how to use them and the difference between an indicator of compromise and an indicator of attack, which are things you should know. So that's it for tonight.